The darkness of the Arizona desert slowly settled in, draping the landscape with a cloak of silence and mystery. The full moon shone brightly, casting silvery beams over the lonely road, while shadows stretched and blurred into the vastness of the night. Logan Graves drove his sturdy Ford Bronco with the confidence of one who had faced the dangers of this inhospitable environment before, yet that early morning brought with it a different omen. Beside him, Axel, the loyal German shepherd with penetrating eyes and an ever-alert stance, seemed to catch the slightest noises, as if foreseeing what was to come. The mission appeared simple at first glance. Transport a package containing encrypted files, an order that an old agency contact insisted must be kept out of the wrong hands. However, as the Bronco slowly advanced along the asphalt road, Logan felt a shiver run down his spine. His fingers, steady on the wheel, occasionally trembled slightly as they neared the holster, reminding him that in that world of fickle loyalties and unexpected betrayals, every moment could be decisive. The silence of the road was abruptly interrupted by an unusual flash in the rearview mirror. At first, Logan imagined it was just ordinary bikers, routine visitors to the desert's empty highways. But as the headlights drew nearer and intensified, forming a pattern that bordered on the calculated, reality set in. It was an ambush. His heart raced, and his mind began to operate at an almost reflexive pace. Without losing his composure, he pressed the brake with precision, making the Bronco skid in a ballet of tires singing on the hot asphalt. In a matter of moments, the situation took shape. 6 motorcycles, each with headlights that resembled hungry eyes, encircled the vehicle. From within that circle, men dismounted with determined steps, sporting leather jackets marked by the unmistakable symbol of the Iron Vipers, a tangle of snakes coiling around a skull, enough to make anyone's adrenaline spike at the thought of defiance. The air grew heavy with the expectation of an imminent confrontation. The group's leader, a man with a full beard and an icy gaze, advanced with a threatening posture, and his voice, rough as shattered glass, cut through the silence of the night. "Logan Graves, we need to talk." There was a subtle irony in Logan's expression, yet his tone made it clear that he would not be intimidated. "Talk?" he replied dryly, while the intense headlights outlined the scene of a potential conflict. "Normally, when I'm surrounded in the middle of nowhere, I don't expect to chat about the weather." Axel growled, barking low and menacingly, as if to warn that his patience had run out. The Iron Viper's leader continued, insinuating that Logan possessed something that belonged to a mysterious boss, a name that evoked shadows of the past and debts that seemed never to be repaid. Every word was laden with an almost palpable tension, and the silence between the bursts of the headlights and the sound of the wind seemed to amplify the mystery of what was coming. Faced with that scenario, Logan had to decide: retreat and leave the mission unfinished, or face the men who, in some way, represented a link to a past he tried to keep buried. In an instant of pure determination, he opted for action. In a simultaneous movement, his foot pressing the brake with precision while his right hand gripped the holster, 2 dry shots shattered the night's quiet. The explosion of gunfire made one of the bikers stagger, losing his balance, while Axel, in an almost instinctive reflex, leaped from the Bronco and struck an enemy with devastating force. The confrontation unfolded with an intensity that blended physicality and emotion. Every movement by Logan was measured, a result of past experiences that taught him that rapid, precise action was the only way out in situations like this. The Iron Vipers, though violent, displayed a certain self-control, as if they wanted to test Logan before deciding on the final outcome. The leader, with a smile devoid of any real amusement, made it clear that the purpose of the ambush was not to kill Logan immediately, but to send a message. "We enjoy a good game, Graves, but we don't want you dead." "Not now," declared the man, his cold and calculated voice echoing in the nocturnal silence. As the men fell back, allowing the tension to settle, Logan took the opportunity to scan every detail around him. The glare of the headlights, the muffled sounds of the motorcycle's repositioning, and the firm gaze of the Viper's leader suggested that behind that ambush lay something much larger, a plot connecting the present to old, unsettled debts. A question haunted Logan's mind. What exactly did he possess that could awaken such fury? Every shot, every axle growl, was a reminder that fate had chosen him for this grim game. That road, once a simple stretch of asphalt, transformed into a stage for difficult choices. Logan felt the weight of responsibility and the pressure of a past that insisted on re-emerging. As the Bronco remained surrounded, he kept his eyes fixed on the horizon, imagining the unfolding consequences of that encounter. The certainty was that night, every second carried the potential to change the course of his life, and that the ambush was only the first chapter of a story filled with secrets, betrayals, and above all, an unrelenting quest for answers. With adrenaline still pounding and silence briefly reclaiming the night, Logan knew there was no turning back. The desert bore witness to a clash where loyalty and betrayal intertwined, and he was determined to face every challenge that arose. To the distant sound of engines fading away, the darkness of the night seemed to conspire with fate, setting the stage for events that would change everything. And so, with his heart racing and Axel always at his side, Logan Graves ventured into uncertainty, aware that this was only the beginning of a confrontation that would force him to face the ghosts of his past. The shock of that ambush still pulsed in Logan Graves' veins as the Ford Bronco resumed its journey along secondary roads. The night, although silent, carried with every curve and every gust of wind a whisper of long-dormant memories. With his heart heavy from the tension of the confrontation, Logan drove with his gaze fixed on the road, while Axel remained alert, like a silent guardian always ready to react. The message from the Iron Vipers echoed in his mind. That reference to a boss and the mention of unpaid debts brought to light memories of past operations, where loyalty and betrayal intertwined brutally. Logan knew that this ambush was not a mere coincidence, but the beginning of a game of interests, where every move could reveal painful secrets. The silence of the desert now seemed laden with stories and clues that needed to be unraveled. Determined to regain control, Logan veered onto a less-traveled road, where the asphalt merged with dust and the characteristic smell of the desert. It was then that he spotted an abandoned gas station, a rusty structure that, despite its neglect, offered the privacy needed for him to process the events. As he parked, the environment, steeped in nostalgia and loneliness, seemed to embrace him, while he retrieved a small first aid kit from the trunk. With steady hands but a distant look in his eyes, he tended to the superficial cuts the ambush had left. Wounds that, though not life-threatening, served as a reminder of the invisible scars of a troubled past. While adjusting his pistol and counting the bullets with meticulous attention, his thoughts wandered between the present and the days when every mission carried the weight of difficult choices. Time seemed to stretch, and each second acquired the aura of a silent eternity. It was then that the phone, resting on the Bronco's dashboard, began to ring, a sound that carried a mix of relief and apprehension. It was the number of an old agency contact, someone who, despite the years and dangers, had remained a trusted link amid the instability. After a few attempts and a brief wait, a raspy voice laden with history answered. "I thought you were dead, Graves." Surprise mingled with caution. Without hesitation, Logan replied in the firm tone of one who knew the risks of every spoken word. The ensuing conversation was brief but dense. The old contact revealed that the Iron Vipers were now operating under the orders of a new player in the criminal underworld, a man who was not content with merely maintaining power, but who was restructuring alliances and eliminating enemies relentlessly. Every word carried the weight of information that Logan had long suspected but never confirmed. As the call ended, the silence in the cabin gave way to a torrent of thoughts. Logan recalled times when loyalty was tested at every corner, where allies and enemies blended in a deadly game. The revelation of a new leader made his heart beat faster, evoking memories of days when trust was scarce and betrayal constant. Axel, with his watchful eyes and in tune with his master's emotions, seemed to convey that, regardless of the dangers and secrets of the past, he would never abandon him. Determined not to be just another target in the sights of invisible enemies, Logan decided to act. He knew that to unravel the mystery behind the boss mentioned by the Iron Vipers, every clue needed investigation. The first clue pointed to an old junkyard, a meeting place for discreet gatherings and exchanges of information among criminals. There, amid scrap metal and the distant echo of hushed conversations, he might find answers about the identity of this new protagonist and why he was so important on the power chessboard. With his destiny charted, Logan returned to the Bronco and hit the road once more. The desert, now more enigmatic than ever, revealed every grain of sand and every whisper of wind as if it wanted to share ancient secrets. The night remained dense, and the silence, once comforting, now seemed fraught with warnings. Every curve, every stretch of asphalt made Logan's heart pound faster. He knew the path he had chosen would be arduous, but he was determined to face every challenge. As the darkness deepened and the memory of the ambush merged with the whispers of the past, Logan clenched his fist, vowing to himself that he would no longer be a vulnerable piece in this game of power. He would transform the echo of old debts into a force that propelled him toward the truth. And so, with Axel always at his side, Logan set off for the next chapter of his journey, aware that with every mile traveled, not only the desert but also the ghosts of the past were drawing near to test his determination and courage. Guided by the information he had gathered and the urgent need for answers, Logan Graves drove the Bronco toward an old junkyard on the outskirts of town. This place, long forgotten by time, was known among the Iron Vipers as a discreet meeting spot, a refuge for illicit transactions and information exchanges, where the roar of motorcycle engines blended with the sound of corroded metal and rust. As he neared the location, the atmosphere took on a somber tone, laden with secrets and memories of past betrayals. Parking the Bronco at a strategic distance, Logan remained hidden among shadows and debris, while Axel, with his keen instincts, positioned himself right by his side. Every step was measured and silent. The junkyard revealed itself as a labyrinth of scrap, with abandoned vehicles, rusted containers, and heaps of metal forming an ideal setting for ambushes. The air was thick with a metallic odor mixed with desert dust, creating an oppressive and unsettling atmosphere. As he moved stealthily through the terrain, Logan observed clusters of bikers positioned strategically. Some wore leather jackets bearing the Iron Viper symbol, while others, dressed in immaculate suits, contrasted sharply with the degraded surroundings, a clear sign that hidden forces were at play. This mixture confirmed his suspicion. It was not merely a meeting of common criminals, but a carefully orchestrated operation by a group that transcended the obvious and infiltrated higher echelons of power. Logan knew that time was his greatest enemy. Every second could mean the difference between obtaining the desired information and alerting his foes. With the dexterity honed in countless missions, he approached an isolated biker who was alone, without the immediate protection of his comrades. In a swift and silent move, he grabbed the man from behind, pressing the edge of his knife against the trembling captive's throat. "Talk," Logan demanded in a low, yet imperative voice. The man, overtaken by panic, stuttered between gasps and sobs, revealing that the boss was not at the location at that moment, as he had been summoned to an urgent meeting at Warehouse 19, scheduled for 2 a.m. Additionally, the captive mentioned that a third group was present. Men in suits whose sophisticated appearances starkly contrasted with the violent bikers. This information ignited Logan's mind, making him realize that the Iron Viper's operation was being coordinated by forces far more powerful than he had imagined. Without giving the man time to react, Logan delivered a decisive blow that rendered the biker unconscious. Quickly, he searched the man's wallet and found a small handwritten card confirming the details of the meeting. Time was running against him, and the pressure mounted. The meeting at Warehouse 19 was unavoidable and could reveal secrets that would transform his life forever. Collecting his thoughts, Logan retreated to the temporary safety of the Bronco, where he calmly analyzed the situation. The contrast between the bikers and the suited men evidenced an unexpected alliance, indicating that the Iron Vipers were operating under orders from a higher level of organized crime, where political and financial interests mingled with personal vendettas. Axel, with his attentive and instinctive gaze, followed his master's every move. Together, they knew that the next step would be crucial. The journey to Warehouse 19, where the truth lay hidden behind a veil of conspiracies and secrets of the past. With the card in hand and his determination renewed, Logan prepared to leave the junkyard, aware that every decision made there would shape the course of future events. As the sun began to timidly rise on the horizon, tinting the sky with reddish hues, the desert seemed to whisper promises of revelations and dangers. The old junkyard had, at that moment, become the prelude to a confrontation that would blend memory and vengeance, where every grain of sand carried the weight of untold stories. With Axel by his side, Logan Graves set off toward Warehouse 19, conscious that the truth, however dark it might be, would finally come to light. Darkness still reigned as Logan Graves approached Warehouse 19, an old industrial depot now abandoned but transformed into a stage for clandestine meetings. The Bronco was parked at a safe distance, allowing Logan to closely observe the movements at the location. The air was heavy with tension, and the wind whispered secrets as the warehouse's dim lights revealed silhouettes of bikers and suited men moving in an organized manner. Every step he took brought him closer to a destiny he knew was inevitable. Logan moved with the precision of an experienced soldier. While Axel remained vigilant, the duo infiltrated the shadows, seeking the best vantage point. Inside the warehouse, the scene was chaotic. Dozens of Iron Vipers patrolled the perimeter, while in a dimly lit corner, Jessica Hale was tied up and visibly shaken. The perfect bait to lure Logan. Her presence, a former agency analyst and his trusted ally, ignited a mix of anger and determination in Logan's heart. At the center of the hall, under diffuse lighting, stood Nathaniel Cross. The gray-haired man, with an unyielding stare, commanded the meeting with an authority that echoed the shadows of the past. Cross, a phantom many believed had died after an aerial attack, now appeared alive and more dangerous than ever. His calm, calculating demeanor contrasted sharply with the chaotic surroundings, as if he controlled every movement with a mere gesture. Logan absorbed every detail. The gestures of the Iron Vipers, the exchanged glances between the suited men, and the resigned expression on Jessica's face. Cross's revelation turned the encounter into something far more personal. Logan had faced betrayals before, but this man represented a lost link, and an irresistible invitation to a war that transcended old debts and ambushes. With his heart pounding fiercely, Logan made his decision. As shouts and the clatter of footsteps merged with the tension-filled atmosphere, he launched an audacious plan. In a swift move, he coordinated with Axel to create a diversion. A small burst of smoke cut through the vision of those present, plunging the warehouse in a momentary chaos. Seizing the confusion, Logan moved nimbly through the shadowed corridors, silently eliminating two enemies who stood between him and his long-awaited chance to save Jessica. Amid the turmoil, the leader of the Iron Vipers emerged, brandishing a shotgun with steady hands and determined eyes, ready to put an end to Logan's advance. It was at that moment that Nathaniel Cross's chilling voice rang out, interrupting the clamor of gunshots and shouts. "We finally meet, Logan Graves," Cross announced, with a smile bearing the weight of countless betrayals and broken promises. The confrontation quickly evolved into a deadly dance of choices. Cross offered Logan an ambiguous proposal: join him and assume a new role in this power game, or face the consequences of a past that refused to be forgotten. Cross's words resonated with the coldness of an inescapable fate, but Logan refused to be daunted. With determination forged in numerous battles, he answered with a defiant smile. "I never sold my soul, Cross." The exchange of glances between the two was heavy with history. as Cross ordered his men to eliminate Logan and any resistance, including Jessica, who desperately tried to free herself from her bonds. The atmosphere became nearly unbearable. The chaos escalated. Gunshots echoed. Screams of agony mingled with the sound of explosives, and the air, dense with smoke and gunpowder, was filled with a sense of despair and courage. Taking advantage of the confusion, Logan signaled to Jessica, "Run now. Don't look back." With Axel's fierce assistance as he lunged against the foes, trying to block the escape, Jessica managed to free herself from the ropes binding her. Logan, his face marked by sweat and determination shining in his eyes, knew that the decisive moment was near. He spotted an exposed gas valve and, without hesitation, pulled an incendiary grenade from his pocket. In a gesture that blended desperation and bravery, he hurled the device with surgical precision, aiming at the very heart of the structure. The ensuing explosion transformed the warehouse into a blazing inferno. The deafening sound and rapidly spreading fire created an apocalyptic scene, while the enemy's screams were drowned out by the roar of the flames. Nathaniel Cross, still sporting his enigmatic smile, watched from afar, aware that this confrontation was only the beginning of a new war. As the flames consumed the building and smoke billowed upward, Logan, Axel, and Jessica struggled to find an escape route. Every second felt like an eternity, and fate seemed to hang by a fragile thread between survival and defeat. With his heart racing, Logan knew that although that battle had been won, the true settling of scores was just beginning, a war where loyalty, betrayal, and redemption would intermingle in a scene of blood and fire. With his eyes fixed on the horizon where the first hints of dawn timidly emerged, Logan promised himself that he would not let the past define him. As the Bronco pulled away, leaving behind the chaos of the burning warehouse, the road opened like an uncertain invitation to a new chapter, one in which every decision, every shot, and every sacrifice would determine not only his destiny, but also the course of a war that seemed endless. Did you enjoy this electrifying story of loyalty, revenge, and redemption? Then like this video, share with your friends, and subscribe to the channel for more narratives full of action and suspense. Activate notifications so you won't miss any intense stories filled with twists, courage, and settling of scores.